Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode on my channel. I am Coach Ali, an insomnia coach, a chronic pain coach, and also an anxiety recovery coach. I've been taking a little bit of a break from creating content, but I am back and I'm really excited to share something so important with you today that I think that hope you will get a lot of value out of and it'll have a lot of meaning. That's my hope anyway. You can let me know in the comments. So as you know, I am Allie, the Sacred Sleep Coach, and welcome to my channel. So today we are going to talk about this concept of self-love versus self-criticism and what I've found in this insomnia recovery journey and any journey recovering from a chronic condition is that self-acceptance is really the entire journey. And we have a hard time with that generally, those of us that tend to develop these chronic conditions, because we tend to be really hard on ourselves. We tend to be very critical of ourselves and hold ourselves to extremely high standards and expectations that no human could live up to. We tend to beat ourselves up and generally be very hard on ourselves. And so this has actually some effects on our nervous system. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So today I want to share with you what one of the most common questions in recovery is, the one of the questions that I hear the most. And it's something like this, like, I understand, okay, sure, I get it. Like all the education piece, people get pretty easily, and they're not seeing a lot of changes because it takes some time for everything to kind of sink into the subconscious. But it's also more than that. It's the energy that we're going about recovery. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But one of these most common questions I get is, but what should I do? But what do I do? Right? It's like people ask this question all the time, and I did too. So I totally get it. And what I first want you to hear and understand is that if we can let love and kindness lead the way, then that is going to be such a huge signal of safety to the nervous system. And one of the first things you can ask yourself is, what energy is dominant here? What is the energy that I'm feeling right now? What is showing up? Is it love or fear? And most of the time in this chronic recovery journey, it's going to be fear, because our nervous system is detecting threat where there isn't any. So these are misidentified, misperceived threats, but our system is reacting as if it is a life or death situation. And we are in turn responding as if every symptom, every sensation, thought, or emotion is an emergency that needs our immediate attention. And unfortunately, that responding with that level of fear and that level of I have to fix it, it reinforces fear. It reinforces that there's danger where there isn't any. And so this perpetuates the loop. It perpetuates the struggle. And so when we can be clear about that and we can see where, okay, the fear is dominating my experience, then we can at least understand that is what is happening. And we can then move to this next idea that I want to share with you. And this is this understanding that anything we do or we do not do from a place of fear, or that place of fighting and resisting, trying to fix it, control it, um, this is going to reinforce the fear, which is the very thing that perpetuates the struggle, right? So it doesn't really matter what we do, it's the energy of which we're going to do it. So, what the question here that you can ask yourself is, okay, knowing that this fear is what is dominating my experience right now, how can I soften towards what is showing up right now, towards the fear? How can I resist less, accept more, and genuinely just love myself more and be kinder to myself? This is such a big concept, and I can't overstate how important it is, because we're going to talk about this a little more as we go down these other points. But kindness, acceptance, love, these are signals of safety to the nervous system. So asking ourselves that question can be really helpful. How can I soften towards what's here right now? How can I find a way to be a little bit more comfortable within this discomfort, right? And this requires some self-exploration, because all of us are going to be a little bit different in how we are kind to ourselves, how we take care of ourselves, what supports us, how we give ourselves that grace and that kindness. But it's really important that we find that, because this is really how we find freedom. So understanding that anything we do or do not do from a place of gentleness, kindness, and love is going to reinforce that safety. So that first question that we started it with, what should I do? These are the next 2 points to bring to mind. Anything I do or do not do from a place of fear, fighting, or resisting will reinforce the fear, perpetuate the struggle. But anything I do from a place of gentleness, from kindness, from softening, and that self-love will reinforce safety. It will give my brain this message of safety, that I've got my own back, that I'm okay. And this is so, so important as we move through this journey. So the really amazing thing about love or self-acceptance or kindness, it doesn't make fear wrong or bad. It doesn't need it to go away. It allows it to be what it is, and it softens, that fear softens organically from accepting, from not resisting, from not fighting, from taking the armor off, from releasing that fight around it. So this is the beauty in this concept of self-kindness and self-acceptance and self-love, is this is the very thing that is going to allow my nervous system to disarm, to turn off the alarm system, right? So the next point here is self-criticism. It keeps the nervous system in high alert or sensitization mode. Healing, it can't come from harsh criticism. Healing happens in the softening, the accepting, and the loving of all parts of ourselves. This is really how our nervous system learns that we are safe and we've got our own back, because we are showing ourselves acceptance, kindness, and love. And this is really, in my opinion, the biggest takeaway from the recovery journey. It was for me. And what sometimes happens is our nervous system may have learned that it had to protect itself from us. We're actually the ones holding the whip. Do better, be better, try harder. And we are so hard on ourselves. And it's almost like we're beating this scared part of ourselves into submission. And so it is learned that it has to protect itself from us. And unfortunately, what happens here is our brain, it classifies this as a threat, and it has to stay hypervigilant to protect itself from us, the critic that's holding the whip. So how do we find that softness? How do we find that self-acceptance? We move towards the path of least resistance. What is going to signal safety, love, gentleness to my nervous system right now, to this scared part of myself, this part of myself that is just trying so hard to protect me from what it is perceiving as dangerous. And unfortunately, sometimes that is my own inner criticism, right? So we have to be aware of that in order to change it. We can't assume that we can make something change or be different if we aren't able to see it, right? But once we see it, we can't unsee it. And this is how change starts. And this was very, very true for myself in my own journey. So the next point here is that love and self-acceptance are really the antidote to self-criticism and self-judgment. This is why I believe that this is actually the entire journey, because this is how the nervous system learns safety. And it really makes sense. It makes sense on so many levels. If you can kind of think about a little kid, a little toddler or baby, they they need love and belonging and acceptance. And when they have that, they learn safety in their nervous system. And when they don't, they learn that the world is not safe. And your nervous system is constantly looking out for you. And so it just puts us in this threat response in hypervigilant mode as a way of keeping us alive and safe. So it's just doing its job, it's just doing its best. And so we have to start to understand where our own self judgments and self criticism are keeping that nervous system in protective mode, right? This was such a big revelation for me in my own recovery journey. The last and final point that I want to make today is that acceptance and love are what signal safety to the brain. So this is a process, this is a journey. This is how we start to see these parts of ourselves and where they play out, and how our nervous system has learned to stay in protective mode to keep us alive, to keep us just able to survive, right? It's a survival mechanism. So that being said, so much of this self-criticism, self-judgment also revolves around perfectionism. And that perfectionism is part of the self-criticism. It really is a way in which we're critical of ourselves. And so we can start to look at that, because this is so common for so many people, the ways that we are trying to be perfect or trying to get it all right. Within the nervous system, when we are those perfectionist tendencies, they read as an intensity, right? And I have to do this, and I must do this, and I got to do this right, and blah, blah, it's like, it's an intensity of which we might even just be going about life. And the nervous system and the brain, they read intensity as a potential threat, as something it needs to protect us from. So this becomes how our nervous system can stay in that hypervigilant mode, leading us into sensitization. And sensitization is when the alarm is just on constantly. It's not turning off. And the way out of this is exactly these points that I've just made for you today. The way out is through. The way out is by acknowledging, allowing, redirecting with all of that kindness and love and self-acceptance within. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that that can just shed a little bit of light on maybe what might be a little bit of a missing piece. Again, I really do believe that this self-acceptance, this self-kindness is the whole journey. I wish you all the very, very best on your recovery journey. Please reach out if you have a need for one-on-one sessions. I am available. And I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much.